Hello and welcome back to this video series. We're setting up Centrify Privilege Service in high availability using Windows failover clustering. And in the previous video, we actually configured our cluster and it's already running with a role. So if you look at the roles here, we verified that it's working as expected. So the next thing we need to do is add a Centrify connector, right? So connectors are the way you can get scalability in services like AD or LDAP proxying, radios, and discovery, SSH access, and also RDP access. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. So notice that I only have one user right now, and it's in the Centrify directory held inside this platform here. So if I go and I look at the admin portal, there's only one user, right? In order for us to extend it, we need connectors. So you would do network, and you're going to add a Centrify connector. You're going to download it. Should be a fairly straightforward setup as well. So the first thing it does is to place the binaries, and once the binaries are placed in the right location, obviously you want to pick the components. Privilege service on premise, we don't need anything else here. All we need is a connector. So we're going to do install. Once it's installed, it's going to prompt for configuration, and the configuration, all I need is a valid user and the URL. So in this case, the URL is right here, so I can actually copy it. And so the service is this guy here, and this generic name is my administrator. And if you have a proxy server, I don't have a proxy server here. I don't need to activate these pages. And here, if I have access to the Active Directory recycle bin, I can check that. Otherwise, I can skip it. And ultimately, this is going to register the connector. The easiest way for you to test a connector is to try to authenticate with an AD user, because by default, they can get to the user portal, not to the admin portal. So when we refresh here, notice that it's going to say, hey, I have a connector. And this connector is running all these services right here. Another thing that will happen is that automatically there's going to be a discovery job triggered that is going to populate domains here. But one thing that I can do is I can leverage an incognito window and go to the same location, and I can try with an AD user. I can even use short name, but I'm just going to use the whole UPN. And right here, notice that I was able to log in as Diana. And if I were to go to users here, notice that I now have her cache here, and her source is Active Directory. Anyway, so ideally you would add an additional connector. That way we have, if you're doing this lab, ideally you have a 3-node cluster. For brevity, I only have a 2-node cluster, but I will be using the node 3 cluster here for backups. So I'm hoping that your testing goes well.